Every pregnancy needs utmost care and attention. But certain pregnancies need a little extra attention. An Rh-negative mother carrying an Rh-positive baby is at increased risk of complications. BSV is at the forefront to ensure safe delivery in every Rh-negative pregnancy.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Outside View, and this is presented by BSV, Puma Food and Wellness, and AMRI Hospital. And if you've been watching the opening game at the Women's World Cup, you probably need to take a bit of a breather because it just went down to the wire. Fantastic advert for the sport, and what a start to the Women's World Cup in New Zealand. I'm as always joined today by two of very special guests, Julia Price and Brittany Cooper, two World Cup winners. And ladies, let's put this straight, of course. One of you got, both of you got some bragging rights. One of you got the prediction of the winner right, but of course, Julia, we did go with your prediction of Sophie Devine being probably the key cog in the entire scheme of things. But I have to go to Brittany first. Brittany, how heart in the mouth moments, such moments of brilliance, your first thoughts about this game?
Speechless. We know was going to be a starter, an exciting tournament, but who would have predicted that the first game of the Women's World Cup was going to go down to the wire like this? Women's cricket is on the rise. It's on the rise.
Yeah, safe to say that, Brittany. I think you're kind of resonating the thoughts of a lot of people who've sort of tuned in, who watched that match, and who were lucky enough to, like us, who watched it from start to finish. Julia, brilliant performances from both the sides. Of course, we'll come back to a bit of the drawbacks or concerns that we saw with both the teams, but what a way to start this World Cup.
Oh, it did. It absolutely showcased the depth of both of the teams. The bowling standards were amazing. The tactics were fantastic as well. The batting, unbelievable from both teams. And it was obviously a super competitive game, taking it right down to the wire. So if people aren't happy with that, go and find another sport, because that was unbelievably good. My housemates, they don't even watch cricket and they were loving it. So
well, that's high praise. And yes, it was. And what a game, especially in the run chase. We did know that it was going to be close. Brittany at the top saying 260, 270, and West Indies could very well fancy their chances. Julia, you did say that Sophie Devine held the key to that particular run chase, and it held true. So let's talk about Sophie Devine. A valiant innings, of course. She would have been really disappointed in the end. She would have loved to take it through to the end if she could, but a good start nevertheless from her bat.
Yeah, she needed to go through the whole way. She'll be extremely disappointed. Batted well, gave a lot of chances. West Indies had plenty of opportunities to get her out, and they just couldn't get her out. It was going to take something really special, which was obviously Chanel Henry's one-handed catch of her own bowling to dismiss her. But I think if they hadn't got her out, New Zealand would have romped that home. So yeah, well done to the West Indies and hanging in there. I thought Stefani Taylor may have made a bit of a mistake in her over counting and was one over short, but of course up springs Deandra Dotton and becomes the match winner. I'm calling her the player of the match. I don't care what Hayley Matthews has done. That was unbelievable to be able to come on in that pressure and be able to do that. But as we were talking about it before, actually, as well as the depth of the New Zealand batting, they haven't probably faced a lot of bowling this sort of in the last 5 games or so, or 7 games that they've played. So when it comes down to this, that's that little element of panic which they had even in the first innings at the end of it with their fielding and bowling, and that was reflected again as soon as Sophie Devine was out there. There was no real senior player. Katie Martin did well though, but they just sort of panicked a little bit when they really probably nearly could have taken that home.
Yeah, I'm going to get to Brittany in just a bit. But if you're tuning into the Outside View at this point, you would know, of course, that West Indies have won the opening match of the Women's World Cup. Who would have thought we'd end up saying this, but they beat New Zealand by 3 runs what a match that was. And just to remind our viewers, let's take a look at that second innings batting card and bowling card, and how that match really progressed. Just to take you through how that second innings panned out. That's how the batting lineup sort of shaped up right at the top. Sophie Devine sort of just trying to rally through for New Zealand. A beautiful century there at the top. She got some support in Satterthwaite, her vice Satterthwaite, and of course, right at the end, Katie Martin trying to do her best. Cheska gave great support, but it wasn't to be. That's how the match sort of wrapped up in some sense. Two centurions there. Hayley Matthews probably being the star of the entire innings as well, and we should speak about her as well when we go in. But Brittany, just your thoughts on Hayley Matthews with the ball before we get into a few other aspects of the second innings. She obviously couldn't do anything wrong. She came in with some key wickets there, and it was essential. It was essential for her to sort of get in there, and she did quite the job for her 2 weeks.
I did say a couple of shows ago that Hayley is going to be a very tricky player on this pitch, because the way she vary her pace, and also she have an advantage in terms of height. If you look at, say, compare Sophie Eckerson, she's also a tall spinner. So sometimes you think that the ball is going to bounce, but sometimes she just skid on. If you look at the wicket that she take up Amelia Kerr normally, if you see any series against India, Amelia Kerr was going on the back foot for the Indian spinners, easy and working out. But they are short bowlers. But you look at Hayley Matthews, who are a little taller, who had that bowling that, even though she's tall, she's bowling that low trajectory, and the ball skid on. So Hayley has been bowling excellent in the past series, and it just goes to show that her all-round ability and how important she is to the team in the middle.
Yes, and she got some support as well. Some key people chipping in at the other end. Someone like Anisa Mohammed, quite the legend, 300 plus wickets in shorter formats. Obviously, a very special performance, and she did give that breakthrough as well, getting Satterthwaite, because they were sort of gaining that momentum in the middle alongside, Amy alongside Devine did the two. So key contribution from Anisa as well, Julia.
Yeah, I thought she sort of bowled well in periods. I didn't think she bowled as well as Hayley. Hayley does tend to bowl a little bit into the wicket, and I think that really suited the pitch. We were talking about it being a slower pitch, and the fact you can bowl a bit of off pace into it. And I think that probably suited her a little bit. But like you said, she did pick up Satterthwaite, and then obviously they put Leah Tahuhu up the order as well and got her out not long after that as well. So a couple of key wickets in that sort of middle, just to slow down that momentum that New Zealand were gaining, and with her experience, she was quite calm under pressure. But again, I think she'll get into the rhythm of the series, and it's nice to have a couple of good spinners up your sleeve.
Just to kind of put things in perspective, when we talk about West Indies in the field, it's just something that I sort of perceived, and Brittany, you could probably correct me if I was wrong. They just seemed, that level of energy. They were just that into it. Yes, there were moments where they dropped catches, and there were some sloppy moments there, but they were on the ball. Deandra at points sort of being aggressive and cutting off whatever she could. There were some good fielding attempts and of course Campbell behind the wicket chirping and louder than the commentators at many occasions. But that energy was there. I think that body language sort of also kind of contributed a bit to that momentum, you'd say.
One of our issues in the past has always been that during the middle over period, we tend to lose momentum or lose focus or lose that support. So what we've been trying to do is try to always keep that support during the innings, whether momentum is our side or not. And tonight showed that no matter how or where the game was going, you heard the gears supporting and cheering each other. Once you're on a field and you hear that the team supporting you no matter what, it's only going to bring confidence to you.
Yeah, Julia, just a thought on West Indies in the field. I mean, we did speak about New Zealand earlier, how they weren't just as in it, especially when we were speaking about those key moments, taking those key catches, stopping those, those runs flowing. West Indies, probably just as disappointing as well. Dropped Devine twice or three times. they wouldn't really look to do this on any other occasion because it's just that little chance that you need to probably just convert into big moments.
Yeah, well, it was probably a little disappointing. Their fielding, they dropped 5 catches actually and missed a run out, and 3 of those were Sophie Devine as well as the run out, and obviously Katie Martin. So they were big contributors. New Zealand, as guilty in their fielding attempts. But we did mention that it is a little bit difficult at night, and I thought that would be a little bit of a problem for them. Haven't played there at night before. The LED lighting can make it a little bit difficult to judge and lose the ball a little. So, we may give them the benefit of doubt there, but it's certainly an area that they'll be wanting to improve on, because it could have actually really cost them the game. Because they had Sophie Devine was dropped on 37-74, and I'm not sure what she was on a run out, but at the same time, it was just, that you've got to be able to, if you're going to win World Cups, you've got to be taking those wickets. The good thing for them is they got away with it. They've got the win and the points, and they'll gain some confidence from how they played in other areas. To me, I felt that they had a really, they were pretty calm throughout, even though they were missing catches and potential wickets. They still sang pretty calm, and they still were up and about and around each other. In the past, I know there can be a little bit of sort of culture or sort of not necessarily infighting, but necessarily people being a little harder on other people. And I thought they actually really supported each other really, really well. And I think they've had a really nice shift in their team culture. And I think that's why they're going to do pretty well in this tournament.
Brittany, if you could just take that thought forward, because we've seen you taking blinders, stunning catches. We've seen you do that so many times on the field. How were you sort of witnessing, and how did you react to those moments? Are you itching to say no? And what is it that dressing room is going to talk about? Is there going to be some sort of a positive energy, or there's also going to be like, hey, hold on, yes, we won, we can't be doing this?
I'm pretty sure that the next training session, the girls will have to do a lot of catching, because one thing I know about Courtney was, even though he was a bowler, he takes fielding very serious, and he know the importance of the impact of fielding team. A team of players could help the bowlers. So the fact that we dropped so much catches, we dropped catches that literally almost cost us the game, and I won't say they were hard catches. I think we just misjudged. And as Julia rightfully said, probably under the lights, the LED in the back, dark skies, we don't know. I don't know. But going forward, West Indies have to step up their fielding. This is not the fielding team we know of. We very energetic in the team. As you said, we take a lot of blinders. So I know next training session, the coach is going to literally focus on a lot of fielding going forward, because in the past, fielding have won us games, and tonight it always make us lost one.
Yeah, things could have gone this way. That there were those key moments, of course, and that probably matters always in a stage such as the World Cup. But let's just go back to Sophie Devine for a moment. I think heartbreak for her. She sort of fought hard out there in the middle, tried her best to stitch those partnerships, especially with the tail, and almost sort of took that away from West Indies at one stage, for certain. But Julia, just your thoughts on Sophie and how wonderful she's sort of been today in the opening game.
Yeah, well, as we mentioned before, she did give a few chances, but at the same time, she sort of re-established herself out there, took a bit of a breath, and then started forming partnerships again with the players that were coming in. She probably didn't get as many big ones as she was sort of hoping, obviously with Annie Southwaite and also Katie Martin, but a few of the middle orders sort of dropped away a little bit today and didn't probably go with her as much as she would have liked. And I think that's one area that they'll certainly want to work on. But for her game herself, there's just those couple of deliveries where she did sort of just hit them straight down someone's throat, particularly on the sweep, a little bit uppish, and was trying to maybe be a little greedy, go for the sixes. So maybe that's some area of her game where she'll start thinking about maybe just hitting the space as opposed to trying to clear the boundary all the time. And if anything, that's the only thing I'm going to be critical of her today was the fact she probably got a little greedy on a few of the ones that she was had the drop catches on. But other than that, she hits with such power. She doesn't have to beat a fielder by too much on each side for it to hit that gap. So I think she just needs to just keep relying on that power that she's got, wait for the ball, and those big innings, players will start getting around her, and and putting in some partnerships, very much like the West Indies did in their innings, which I thought they did fantastically.
Yeah, that was probably one of the key differentiators between the end. We all just got down to the wire in the end. There was very little to separate the two teams. But just your thoughts again on Devine, Brittany, fourth New Zealander to sort of reach the 3,000 run mark in one dayers. Just a couple of them, and of course, two of them still playing. Bates and Stataway were the other two who've sort of contributed and reached beyond that 3,000 figure mark. That's a lot of, but that's a huge number there. And it does take very few to kind of get across there, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And I know she's very proud to score 2,000 runs at home. I know it's unfortunate that she wished that she could have crossed the winning line, but she's gonna take a lot of knowledge out of this game. I'm really excited though. Really liked her innings. 108 10 fours.
Yeah.
I think she applied herself really good, because if you look at the start of her innings, West Indies bowled to, I won't say her weakness, but they bowled to her field. So they keep her down to scoring at a certain rate. And she didn't let that fluster her. She didn't take, I won't say she made any harsh shots, even though she was dropped a couple of times. I just felt that, at a point in time she needed to up the run rate, because New Zealand ended up losing 4 wickets for about 40 runs. So somebody needed to come and pull up the run rate. They tried that with Leah Tahu, and it did not work out. So she played her captain innings, and I believe she played it well. Obviously should have wanted to stay there and bring it home, but next game.
Right. And if we talk about going back to the drawing board, we did sort of talk about what West Indies would be kind of looking to do, a few things they would want to sort of do over. You think, Julia, that a bit of, probably what you mentioned a little earlier, the fact that the middle order hasn't been tested, and that's something that would really put the thinking hats on for them ahead of the next game.
For the West Indies, are you talking about? Or for the New Zealand?
New Zealand.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, obviously, it was a little affected by the fact that they've brought in, I mentioned at the beginning that Brooke Halliday came in, which I thought was always a bit of an interesting option. She can bowl, but rarely would do that, where I think that's where Hayley Jensen would have been a better option. And then, obviously, if you brought Frankie Mackay in instead of Fran Jonas, she again also would bat a bit higher up the order, and therefore giving them a few more runs or a bit more depth in that batting order. So I think that's a really obvious sort of change for the next game. But at the same time, if they did stick with it, I wouldn't be. I think one of their mistakes there was actually putting up Tahuhu up the order far too early. I think they were trying to get a few cheap runs, and just think they should have stuck with Maddie Green and allowed her to get into the innings a fair bit, as opposed to, just letting Tahuhu. I mean, it could have come off, but I think those things come off less often than more. So I think that they can learn from that one as well, is actually back your middle order and your batters. Maddie Green's been in some good form as well, and let them do the job. And Tahuhu can do a hitting at the end if required. And hopefully, if Maddie Green's in sooner, then they don't need to have someone like Tahuhu come into bat. So that's what I'd be tweaking around with, is just making sure that batting order is right, and maybe a little change in the actual team that's selected.
All right, some things for them to think hard about ahead of their next encounters. But just want to probably ask my producer to put up the bowling card of the West Indies team. And I want to draw your attention to that last column there, Deandra Doughton. And I want, of course, both of y'all to sort of weigh in here. What an amazing move that turned out to be, of course. Everything feels right when it kind of comes off, much like what you just mentioned right now, Julia. Would have been amazing if Tahuhu had kind of pulled it back for New Zealand. But yes, Deandra Doughton, who'd have thought, last over Brittany. Did you think this would pan out the way it did?
I don't believe anybody was looking for Deandra Doughton to come on board that last over, because she haven't bowled in the last, I believe, 7 or 8 games West Indies have played. So I assume that, they're just trying to micromanage her, probably her shoulder was acting up. So, let her focus more on her batting. But it's great to see that, and I don't know where the suggestion came from, but I'm happy to know that, the captain backed her. She wasn't in game in term, but it just showed that the confidence Deandra has now. even though she haven't bowled in a while, it is great to see that, no, she said, yes, skipper, I'm ready. I'm here for the team. And that's a player, a kind of player you want right through your team. I know my impact player today was supposed to be Cornell, and she did not deliver. But, it's all a learning process, and West Indies just have to take strides and all the positive out of this game.
Yeah, and I distinctly remember Julia sort of saying in the last moments of the match, that you never know. I mean, this could be a super over. Thankfully, it didn't. But Julia, thoughts on Deandra? What a magical over.
Yeah, and that's what it's just so nice to have someone up your sleeve like Deandra, because I'm doing all the maths and I'm thinking, who's bowling this last over? Because I couldn't work it out. And I think Cannell came back on the field after she'd injured herself, but she hadn't been bowling unbelievably well. And for her to finish off, and I was trying to work out what Stefani was trying to do, and I think she was hoping. And these are the risks and rewards you've got to do as a captain, and the decisions you've got to make. Do I try and stretch it out as long as possible and have my best bowlers at the end? Or do I bowl them out early and hope that we're going to get these wickets and make it too hard for New Zealand at the end? And, it nearly could have gone completely pear-shaped for it. But, Deandra just bowled unbelievably well. 10 runs, you should be able, 6 off 6, you should be able to get that. So that's just unbelievable. And like I said, she's my player of the match. Sorry, Hayley, but to do that is unbelievable. She actually did win the game for them in the end if we're going down to a moment. Hayley, amazing. But yeah, Deandra Dotton and used to bowl good heat as well. So maybe this is her way of coming back into the game. Obviously, she'd been out of the game for a fair bit with injury. So opening bowler, maybe wants to open the batting and the bowling. I'm not sure, but if she does what she did today, absolutely she can do that.
Yeah, and why not? I mean, always having a nice sort of a card up your sleeve, that X factor always helps, especially in these sort of crunch situations. And we're hoping that the 2 games that are sort of lined up for tomorrow, for day 2 of the Women's World Cup, promises to be just as exciting as today was. In fact, those are the 2 matches that are lined up tomorrow. It's going to be Bangladesh versus South Africa first up. That's a 3:30 a.m. start if you're in India. You're fine if you're elsewhere. Do tune in to catch that. And of course, the build-up for that particular match is always also going to be here at the Outside View. The second one, of course, is a big encounter between Australia. Yes, Julia Price is waiting for that one. And England. That's going to be another exciting encounter. Just very quick thoughts, ladies, on that. Should be another good power pack day 2. Brittany?
The fact that these 2 teams just played each other, Australia, England in the Ashes, and Australia came out victorious. But not to say that I'm always trying to go against Julia, but I just feel that England going to be coming with something. I know they haven't been performing the way they want to, and being defending champions. A lot of people are going to look for them to start their campaign off with a statement. So hopefully we get another exciting game like tonight.
Yeah, and Julia, this World Cup has just started off at such an amazing note, and day 2 promises to be just as exciting, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got obviously Bangladesh and South Africa tomorrow as well, which will be brilliant. I'm not actually sure how often they've played each other, but at the same time, it's Bangladesh's first World Cup. Fantastic for them. They'll be wanting to really pick, off a few of the big names. Obviously, you've got Sune Luce, who's had to take over from Dana van Niekerk, who had injured herself. So South Africa are already a little bit on the back foot, and how much they actually know about Bangladesh. I know that they've been in some pretty good form, and they're ranked pretty highly in this group. So looking forward to seeing that game.
Okay, awesome. And we'll, of course, be here at the Outside View getting you all the insights, all the analysis, and sort of take you through the day's play right from the start of it to the end. Yes, we don't sleep that much. But yes, thank you so much for joining us at the Outside View. Do keep your questions coming in. We have an expert panel to sort of answer those for you. So thank you so much for tuning in, watching the Outside View. Have a nice day.